Hello and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And as always, I have another amazing guest for you. So Catherine, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yeah, certainly. So my name's Catherine. I'm the creator and host of the podcast, Me, Myself and My Vagina, which is basically all about women's health and fitness and well-being.
Lovely. And we'll find out a little bit more about what else you do in a moment, but very intrigued to find out about your podcast. I love the name. So anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Julie Fitzpatrick. I'm the founder of Millieside Therapy and Coaching. And my passion really is supporting you stressed out individuals out there who are lacking in confidence and you're stuck. And I help you to become unstuck. And I use the power of our subconscious mind to do that. So without further ado, Catherine, before we start, I need to ask you my question of what does being unstoppable mean to you?
It basically means being able to do anything that you want to or anything that you set your mind to. I think for me as a mum of one as well, I got to a point where my job wasn't necessarily giving me the excitement that it once did, and I wanted to do something completely different, but I didn't have the confidence to do it. And since doing my podcast, it's opened so many avenues to me that I just think it's just the experience. The more avenues that are open to you, you should take them. You know, if you fluff up, it doesn't matter. It's worth a try. What's the worst can happen? Someone either says no, they don't want your service, or you get like the ultimate, presentation. There's loads of people there, so just keep trying. So I think, don't let anything stop you. Makes you unstoppable.
Yeah, I love that. And it's amazing, isn't it, when you kind of think about what we do. Most of the time we do great things, but we don't always acknowledge them. And that was something that I've had to change as I've got in this journey, because you don't always realize that, right? So if you're lacking in confidence, then probably you've got a limiting belief like I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or something like that. And unbeknown to us, that's holding us back, isn't it? And that stops us from putting ourselves forward. And once you uncover it, it does open doors, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's certainly something that I felt when I had my idea of my podcast. I had no idea how I was going to do it. Where would people listen? That was my major thing, because who would want to hear my story? And you have this self-doubt and a bit of an imposter syndrome. And, I'm not famous. I'm just me. I just have my story, and I just wanted to share my story to make sure that no other women felt the way I did. So there was definitely that always when I remember releasing my first episode, and I was like, oh my God, no one's going to listen, or it's live. Oh my God. But since then I've got to a point where, do you know what? If it means that one person listens and they say, thank goodness for that, I'm not on my own, and they get advice, or they learn, right, I need to kind of book that GP appointment that I've been putting off, or I need to do this, or I can guide them how any way they can. To me, that is immense. That is the ultimate kind of achievement for me. And also, and you're right, like feedback as well. You never really praise yourself, do you? Like I'm not good at that. I'm not good at going, oh, well done me. Whereas I know other people are very much like they can put themselves on a pedestal, and I wasn't like that, and I'm still not. I find it hard now, and I play down my achievements, I think. And I don't know whether that's just my personality. I don't know whether that's something I've got to learn to do myself. I'm getting better. I'll definitely always try and get a conversation in about my podcast whenever I can. And I have done it in the most unusual places, which was brilliant. And I think people are quite shocked as well, because, if it was that, it's one of those things, isn't it? If it was that simple, everyone would do it. And it is easy, but it's just having the confidence to do it. So I'm not great, I wouldn't say it's probably people that are, when I say better than me, probably more a professional than I am. But that was the whole point. I didn't want my podcast to be professional. I wanted it to be authentic, about me, about my journey. I cry on my podcast. I swear on my podcast. I just say it from my point of view, because when I was doing my research, a lot of the podcasts out there, I felt, were very sterile. And they have to be, absolutely, you know, for medical professionals, you do need to have that angle. But obviously, I'm not an expert in that field. I'm just telling people about my experience, but I bring in my expertise from my fitness background.
Which, of course, I will ask you about in a minute. But before I forget, a couple of things I'd say about what you just said is confidence, right? There's different types of confidence, right? So like you, even in my corporate job, I would have come across confident. I was used to managing meetings at quite high level, and that kind of sense didn't bother me. But when it come to, it's about being worthy, actually. I think confidence and worthy aren't always the same thing. So you can be really lacking in confidence and you won't put yourself forward for something, but you can be not worthy of something, but you'd still be confident. So you're confident in what you're doing, but perhaps there's a limiting belief like, I don't feel quite good enough, I don't feel worthy. And it's also the fear, right? Because our life is driven on fears: fear of failure, fear of success, fear of what other people are going to think about us. All these things are in, but they're all fear-based.
No, absolutely. I think in my day job, I can be up and talking in front of 50 people. I'm happy with that. Whereas some people will be like, oh God, I know I can't do that. And I'm just like, yeah, brilliant. Let's just bring it on. Yet I can't, my confidence is anyone going to listen? Do people want to hear? I think you're right. I think it's more the worthy side of it. I think, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head for me, definitely, for that.
And I think when you're doing your job, you're comfortable, you're in your comfort zone, right? And if you're working with whoever you're working with at that time, and you know what you're doing, and that's your comfort zone. But doing your podcast or doing something like this, it is pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, and then the different fears kick in. Now, from my point of view, growing my business, I feel like sometimes oh God, I've overcome that. And then bang, something else. Oh, now I've got to push through that back. And it's that whole journey of, if you're pushing yourself forward and doing different things, you will keep getting those challenges and that feeling of, whoa. But that's good, because that means you're moving forward and you're doing stuff. If you don't get any of that at any time, it probably means you need to start upping your game a little bit and start putting yourself out there.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, because at the moment I've created 2 workshops around women's health. So one of it is about sports bras and one of it is about menopause and exercise. So at the moment I'm emailing different people, different clubs, different kind of, and obviously you kind of spend that hard work like emailing them, making that initial contact. Some people have said no, it's not, that they're not interested in it, which is absolutely fine. And I'm like, but why not? It's really important. We need to talk about these things. Whereas obviously others have been kind of supportive and have got kind of booked me to workshops. So it is that kind of, when you send so many emails but get very few back, I suppose you do feel you've got to go another hurdle and another hurdle. It's like, and you're just waiting for that golden nugget, I suppose, that one person to take that and go, yes, I want to hire you. And it's like, brilliant, let's go.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's like when you're doing sales call, the percentage of actually nailing them is quite low. And you think that someone like J.K. Rowling, I can't remember the number, but she got rejected hundreds of times with her book. And then look what happens. You think about all these inventors, if they gave up at the first hurdle, we wouldn't have the aeroplane, we wouldn't have light bulbs, we wouldn't know how the theory of relativity, that word works, would we? If they just did something once or twice and it failed and they gave up, where would we be now?
No, absolutely.
So it's not failure, it's feedback, isn't it?
Yeah. I think as well, like, because of the name of my podcast, obviously Me, Myself and My Vagina, I think it's really important. I'm breaking the taboo. I'm shattering the silence. I'm talking about things that not everyone's going to feel confident to talk about. And I know everyone's not going to be standing on the rooftop shouting, I've got a prolapse, I wee myself, that kind of thing. But I'm happy to do that, because I think hopefully me sharing my experience will allow people to realise that they aren't on their own. And because I'm quite open, I sometimes forget not everyone is as open. and sometimes even saying the word vagina, like a lot of people will do it, oh, like vagina, oh, you can't say that word. It's like, like, yeah, you can, like, that's what it's called. So why aren't we, you know, and vulva and knowing what part is which? Because I think there's a confusion there as well.
Do you want to, before we get any more into it then, because I'm sure people are watching this going, when's she going to ask her? Let's go into it. It's all like we're getting there. So tell us why on earth you have a podcast called Me, Myself and My Vagina.
So it came about because after the birth of my daughter, I was diagnosed with a prolapse of the pelvic organ. So it's referred to kind of now as like the fourth trimester, and it's an area that we there's lots of information, and rightly so, about conceiving, sex, being pregnant, but it's not really a lot about the after. And I had no idea what a prolapse was, and I knew something wasn't quite right down there. You know, I had a episiotomy, I had a 24-hour labour, I had a forceps delivery, and my baby was £8.12, so I knew it wasn't going to look pretty. And it wasn't. I mean, I'm symptom-wise, I'm really lucky. A lot of people can have it a lot worse than I do. And I kind of was like, yeah, I'm going to make a doctor's appointment, and my priority of me kind of just drops down like any mum, baby, family life kind of goes above. And then I had my
anyway, right? You don't know when you've just had a baby, your first one. You don't know what's right and what's wrong, do you?
No, it just looked. I just thought that was me now. That's kind of what I look like. And so I went for my first smear test. The nurse said, "Have you got any gynae problems?" I was like, "Oh, not really, but it just doesn't look right down there." And she said, "Oh, book in with a GP," which I did. And then they told me basically I was diagnosed there and then with a prolapse. And in essence, my world just fell apart because I knew nothing about it. I associated it. I'd heard the phrase, and I associate it naively with old people. But with women that are pregnant, it's actually really common. People have very different severities of it, and there are different types of prolapses. But it's just a topic that we don't talk about, or we tend to have them, but like whispers behind closed doors. And I felt really alone. In essence, I was like, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to talk to. None of my friends really spoke about kind of this kind of thing. They'd all had babies before me. I don't, you know, they probably haven't experienced it. That's why. But I was just like, I don't know, something's kind of got to give here. And then I think I was on the toilet and had this idea to do a podcast. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to create a podcast around this to make sure no one feels on their own. I'm not a medical expert. I'm just putting out my experience, and on my podcast I have had other women that have had different symptoms, different kind of treatments to me. So we talk about our podcast, our experiences. I've had women's health physios on there. I've had a sex therapist, because again, I think how we feel about our body after a baby is really important. Like, I didn't want to have sex. No way. Like, what? You know, I've just pushed £8.12 baby, and there's no way that's happening again, kind of thing. And you feel very differently. Your body changes, you know, bigger boobs, bigger hips. You just have to learn to love your body again. And so again, I just talk about topics that women probably think are probably having these ideas or thinking about it, but they're just not talking about it. The name came about, I don't know, because again, obviously it was about my vagina and my prolapse, but it's also about me as a person, me as a mother, me just being a woman, and what we kind of have, I don't want to say have to deal with, because that's not the right phrase, but maybe challenges that we have to face to be unstoppable.
Oh, amazing. And how long have you had your podcast?
So it's going to be 3 years in August. So I started it just after lockdown. So I think for me, I had a bit of a turning point in lockdown where I was going to be 40 on the October, and obviously midlife crisis. Oh my God, my world's going to end. And I was like weight wise, I was heavy. It was the heaviest I've ever been. And I just kind of thought, you know what, this is my time. I think my daughter was about kind of 5, 6, so she just kind of didn't need me as much as she kind of did as a new. Obviously, she needs me, but you know what I mean. I kind of had this time now that I could focus on me, and obviously the world was shut. So I thought, well, why not? So it all started with me hiring a personal trainer, which initially I was quite embarrassed to tell people, because they were like, but you're a personal trainer, you know it all. And I was like, I do, but I just need that accountability. So the very reason why someone would come and train with me, I needed that myself. And I think that just also makes you more approachable or more real, to know that, you know what, I've done it myself. I've had to go on this journey with my weight. I did, in fairness, I did learn a lot from my personal trainer, and I kind of knew a lot of the stuff as well that he was saying. I just needed to have that weekly check-in to go, right, have you done this? Have you done that? Yes, yes, yes. So,
and you know what though, Catherine, there's a big difference between knowing it and doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You will find in the therapist, coachy type world, how do I say this without antagonizing everybody? But the fact of the matter is, you will find probably most of the most messed up people in that industry. Now, it doesn't make them bad at what they do. It makes them, they are phenomenal at what they do. But it's like with anything, right? You're too, in the healing world, you're too busy helping everybody else. And you actually go, well, you don't, if someone asks you, you don't worry about me. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. But actually, a lot of, and I am putting that on a very wide thing, but I know a lot of therapists and coaches. I'm in a lot of groups, and I know this to be true, like, and me included, because you don't always, you can spill this off to your clients in the same way you would. Well, you need to go running, or you need to do this, but actually doing it is not the same thing. So I could tell you all day long what you should be doing. Doesn't mean I'm doing it, and eventually that does catch up with you. And that's what I think you're saying here now, is you probably were doing it, but as you got older, your body changed. The menopause, symptoms of the menopause kick in, don't they? And your body starts reacting in a way that you don't even know who you are anymore. But you have to still address it. And sometimes you have to go back and relearn, because the way you thought worked isn't right for you anymore. In the same way, we have to be updating our subconscious mind all the time with what we need. And
no, I agree with that. I'm not great at asking for help. Normally I'm quite a strong person. I can just kind of muddle along and get it done. But there are times when I've had to ask for help, and I've had counselling, and I'm not ashamed to ask for help. I know, and I think that's a big thing. Like, I personally feel asking for help is a strength. I know going back kind of a few years, it was a bit of a weakness, but I totally disagree. I think I'll give you more credit standing up and going, do you know what, I need help, and to help a person that way. And you're right, I do try to practice what I preach. I am quite, I do exercise quite a lot. It's just part of my lifestyle, and it always has been. And that's one thing I found when I was diagnosed with the prolapse. My first physio said to me, you can't run. And I was like, what? They were like, yeah, you've got to stop running. And I don't think she realised just how much, and I didn't realise, to be fair, how much running meant to me. When something like that is taken away from you, it's now like, now what am I going to do? Because I don't just run for physically, it's for my mental release as well. So I need to find something else. And that was really hard to overcome. And I had to, pre my daughter, I'd run marathon, I've done half marathons, I've lifted weight, and it's now you have a baby, and obviously things change, your body changes, you need to adapt. And it's like I had to start again, basically, and take away the fact that I was capable, and I will be capable, because I would say now I'm actually fitter now than I was. And ironically, I probably spend less time working out, but it's the quality of my training that I do is so much better.
And I think a lot of that is the science now, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's a lot more science, and it's like diets and stuff. One minute you can eat this, next minute you can't, isn't it? Because things are changing all the time, and it's about being up with it all, really. And as your body changes, you can't actually, as you get older, they don't advise women in particular doing so much cardio, do they? It's more like resistance training.
Yeah, it's more because obviously with the menopause and perimenopausal, obviously because you're losing at some point, you're going to lose it, progesterone and estrogen. It's going to affect your bone health. Now, when I was working in the gym like 20 years ago, so if you mentioned to anybody, "Oh, I'm going to start to incorporate weights into your program," I can guarantee it was always, "Oh, but I don't want to get big." It's like, well, you can't. Yeah, we haven't got enough testosterone in anyway, but it's so important. And I think that message is now finally getting across. Like, you used to see very few women in the weights area, but now it's pretty even. And weights, people aren't scared to lift those. Yeah, and people aren't scared to lift those weights either, which is absolutely massive. I think it's brilliant. And I think, science, particularly with the fitness industry, is changing and changing, and it is important to keep up to date. But I think as well, for like the general public, I think they just overcomplicate nutrition. It doesn't have to be as complicated as people make out. I've always said if I were to write a nutritional book, it would only be like 4 pages, because it's pretty much a seesaw. Like, if you eat the same as you move, obviously everything's going to stay level. The more you move, the less you eat, you're going to see a weight loss. And then obviously the more you eat, the less you move, there's going to be an increase. So I'm thinking, well, no one's going to buy that book. Like, job done.
You can do that in a
little bit more to it.
downloadable.
But I just think sometimes we do unnecessarily, it's overcomplicating, and I think that's where people go end up in these rabbit holes of what to go, which is going to work best for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also I would just mirror that as well with the therapy world, right? Now, don't get me wrong, obviously there's so much you could learn about the brain and about everything, right? And yes, there's so much, but actually we don't need to make that complicated anyway, unless you really want to be, that's your job and that's your career, or that's your passion. Fine, go and do it, because we need all the new research and stuff. But actually, the rules of the mind aren't that difficult. It's like your mind's only job is to keep you safe, right? So it will do whatever it needs to do that. So someone who maybe suffers from anxiety, that will be your mind's keeping you safe, right? So as soon as it feels that you're going into a dangerous situation, it'll go, oh, hang on, she's going to hurt herself. I can't let that happen. She might die. It's my job to keep her safe. Let me go back through the subconscious mind and find that filing cabinet, open that drawer and find that time, that place, that event. Let's get that file out. Oh, when that happened when she was 5, what we did was we gave her this horrible feeling in her chest and in her stomach. Right, we're going to keep that in. So as an adult, you're getting this reaction that probably was created when you was a child. But that's a stored memory now. So anytime you're in that fight flight mode, it's going to kick in. And that happens with our lack of confidence, with all our fears and stuff like that. It's the memories, because our whole body is our subconscious mind, not just our head. And it's all stored. So once we start learning to understand this, and when I work with my clients, right, it's listen to the language you're talking, and I'm not talking about swearing. You know, when we start using all this negative language, that's bringing you down straight away. So if you get up in the morning and you go, oh God, that was a really lovely crappy night's sleep I had last night, I'm exhausted. Oh my God, I've got so much to do today. I'm never going to get it all done. I haven't got time to eat properly because there just isn't time. There's no time for me. I've got to look after the kids. I've got to do all of this, right? I haven't got time to go and exercise today because I just haven't got time, right? So as a result of that, you're not looking after yourself, so you're not doing your exercise. You've got all this negative language going around your head. Actually, I'm going to go into my job now, and they're probably going to think I'm stupid, and everyone's going to laugh. What are people going to think about me? And then lunchtime comes. Oh, I haven't got time for a decent lunch. Didn't have time to make myself one. I'll just go and buy a sandwich and some crisps and a chocolate bar. You know, and you get through the day eating crap. I'll have a few more coffees, and then by the time the evening comes, you're in this like, oh God, I feel exhausted because I haven't fueled my body properly. I haven't exercised. I haven't taken time out for myself. Now I'm going to eat a load of dinner before I go to bed, and then I'm going to eat that chocolate bar, probably have a glass of wine or 2. Then I'm going to go to bed and wonder why I can't sleep. And so the cycle starts again. And that started with that thought in the morning.
Yeah, no, I totally, like, for me, it was about changing my mindset as well. And I remember, because I had a coach when I had this idea of my my podcast. I worked with a coach. I guess I just needed a cheerleader on my shoulder. Obviously, I appreciate there's more to coaching than that, but you needed that person on the shoulder going, do you know what, you've actually got this. And then I remember her saying, does it matter if no one listens? And I was like, no, actually it doesn't.
Yes.
It's not because I've got I wasn't financially, needed, that wasn't my drive behind it.
Yeah.
But it was like, and I think when I kind of took that pressure off me, it was a bit like, do you know what? Yeah, no, it doesn't. I found it quite therapeutic, to be honest, myself. And I do get a lot out of the sessions that I do and I talk about. And I think that comes across in the podcast episodes that I do, and I just kind of, to be human and just kind of put that human side of it. So yeah, I can definitely agree. The mindset plays a massive part, and how you speak to yourself, like. I'm always saying, to other, if you're always positive to other people, like, why aren't I positive to myself? And I think that just plays a massive part as well.
And it's interesting when you're aware of it yourself and you listen to other people, you're like, oh man. And one tip I would give anyone actually that's watching this is, if you're really up for being serious about changing how you think and feel, obviously contact me and come and work with me, obviously, but that's right. If you can do it as a family, it's much easier because you can all get involved, right? But make a pact to everybody that every time you hear one of you say something negative, like I can't, I should, I don't know, I'm useless, anything that's negative, you pull them up on it and make them reframe it. So if you go, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that, they go, no, Catherine, now reframe that, please. And then you go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to be amazing at this, right? And pick each other up, because then you don't feel like you're being victimized so much, as opposed to just one person playing the game. And then what starts to happen is, first of all, it brings a conscious awareness to you that, oh my God, I didn't realize I was so negative. Point number one. But the more you do it, the more you start picking it up. So you'll be in mid-sentence and then you go, and then you'll pull yourself back. So eventually you very rarely do it. And actually that process happens quite quickly.
Yeah, and I think this is where journaling helped me. So I went through quite a lot of shit. Can I say that? With my prolapse, yeah, sorry. So my prolapse affected me probably more mentally than physically. And I had to have counselling. And so alongside that, I had a few things happen in my life as well. And it just got to a point where I just needed to kind of get it out of me. And sometimes it's talking to a complete stranger is sometimes easier than talking to kind of like loved ones, and particularly in the area that it was for me. I needed someone who specialised in it, so it was just quite a difficult time. And I remember, this was my coach, this was before all that happened, but my coach was, she said, have you tried journaling? And I was like, as soon as she mentioned it, I just thought of like, oh my God, like being back at school, writing a diary, going, oh, I fancy so-and-so, they kissed me in the playground. It's just like, so she's like, no, like, just like, it's just a way to go, and she'll, gave me some prompts and stuff. And I absolutely love it. And I know it's not for everybody, and I don't do it every day, but also just writing down, like, being gratitude. So I do it at night. I know some people do it during the day, at the first thing in the morning, but when, like you were saying about if you've had like a really bad day, there's always something there. It doesn't have to be massive, but there's always like, you're grateful for that nice cup of tea, or spending time with the family, or a bit of sun, feeling the sun on your face. And I think that was, again, I keep saying it, but that was a turning point as well, just starting to kind of do the gratitude day, gratitude, just to like I know some people say like write 5, but I think my thing was I wrote down 2 things. So one thing that I was proud of myself, and one thing that I was grateful for. And I still do that now. And like I said, it's not always big, it's not always massive achievements, but sometimes it is. But it just seems to kind of like really change the way of thinking. Go, actually, the day wasn't that bad. It wasn't as kind of bad as you kind of think.
because what we're good at as humans, isn't it, is always focusing on the negative, right? So if we use a to-do list, for example, and there's 10 items on that to-do list and you do 9 of them, do you actually congratulate yourself, or do you go, oh, for God's sake, I didn't do that one, can't believe it, I still haven't done that? No, don't have a done list, right? I mean, I've sometimes it is really sad, but have you ever had a list and then you've done some extra things, so you write them on the list so that you can cross them off?
Yes, I love a list, and I love being able to do that.
But one thing I've learned though is lists are all right, but we shouldn't overdo a list. I've had lists that, so long, and then you look at them and you get soul destroyed. So
Yeah.
the thing is to don't write all the stuff that you just generally know you're going to do anyway, right? Just put on the few important ones, and especially as we get older, that you need to write a few more things down maybe than you did before, don't you? But then we just focus on the ones that are really important for that day, and do that, because you're right. We end up not being grateful, and we end up not looking back. And that's why your journaling is really good, and taking that time out for yourself, whether it's in the morning before you get on with your day, and actually say to yourself, what one thing can I do today that's going to make me happy? It doesn't matter what it is. It might be, you know what, just sitting here, just being by myself, that makes me happy. Or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to read a book for 10 minutes, anything, it doesn't matter. But just do one thing that makes you happy every day, and that changes the whole vibration and energy as well. And actually, gratitude, that gives you, I think it's serotonin and dopamine hit as well.
Mm.
That's been scientifically proven. I can't remember the stat off the top of my head. But yeah, there's stats on that.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, like, there are going to be days that are quite mundane, isn't it? You just got your routine days of going to work, dropping the kids off at playgroup school, then they've got after school clubs, and then you've got to do dinner, then you've got to, and those are like, oh God, like life is actually quite boring. But then you kind of like sit back and go, actually, there were some, like, I was able to have like half an hour on my own. But I think a big thing about that, and I don't know whether it's like from mum. So I know one of the questions you asked, what I had to do in a form, was about investing in myself, and from a professional level and a personal level, and I do get mummy guilt for it, like I do, because I think, oh no, I shouldn't be spending time on me, I should be spending time with my daughter. And I think this is something that has taken me a while to kind of to understand, I suppose. But it is okay. It is okay to invest in yourself, because you are creating like a better future for your family, because obviously it might be the fact that it could lead to a new job, or that could be more money, or like, I'm not saying it's all going to be materialistic things, but if I feel better within myself, that's going to make me a better person, and then that's going to make me a better mother and a better wife. It's kind of all kind of linking together. And absolutely. There were moments when I thought, oh God, I shouldn't be spending this much money on a course, or I should be doing more around the house or whatever. And then I just sat down one day and go, do you know what, no, this is important to me, and this is what makes me happy, and this is me learning and developing myself, and it's something that I want to do to grow. And I think because you are, like, I remember someone said to me, I don't know, ironically, I hated sport at school, hated it. I don't know whether it's because we had to do like cross country in our gym knickers, and I was a bit of a chubster, so obviously I didn't really like that. But then if someone said to me, you're going to have a career in it, I was like, absolutely not. What are you talking about? Like, I don't like it. Then like GCSEs hit, and I chose PE, ironically. But then I realised to go into an open day, that it's not just about sport as in on the field. I guess that what it does to the body, and that's the kind of the interest that led me down kind of my career path, I suppose. And and like you say, you have to go on courses to keep up with changes and things like that. But then it opens more avenues. Like, it's, I don't know, sometimes I'm here and I don't quite know how I'm here, but I know I've got here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And one thing I've learned on my journey, I'm the same. I spent 35 years in the corporate world. I did train as a counsellor in between that, but I never did it as a job. And then pandemic was for me a huge thing as well, because I got made redundant, and then I started on my journey. So I totally get that. And I was talking to someone today, funny enough, who knew me back in the corporate days. And it's like, if we'd been sitting in a room saying, Julie, you're going to be doing this, or if you'd gone to see a spiritualist, clairvoyant or whatever, and they said, oh, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to have your own business. You're going to be speaking on stages. You're going to be writing books. You're going to have your own interview series. You would have just gone, what a load of old twaddle. Can I have my money back, please? Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But you just don't know. And we have to invest in ourselves if we want to move forward, because otherwise we're stuck in our old limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And I always like using this analogy of, if you've got a mobile phone, you don't keep the old versions for very long, do you? Because they get out of date. You can't upload the software. They get slow, and they're damn right useless. The same with your computer or laptop, right? You have to keep upgrading them. So why is that okay, but we don't invest in ourselves and we don't upgrade our old limiting beliefs? Because if you think about it, if you've got a belief, say that you're not good enough or you're not worthy, that belief was probably, not necessarily, but probably created between the ages of 0 and 7 years of age. Now, during that time, our brains are not even grown enough, so we don't even have logic. So you could be living your life as a mother, a father, a business owner, a CEO, running multi-million-pound companies on a belief that you created when you were 7. Why would you do that?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And obviously I've got, there's, my ultimate dream, I suppose, would be to take my vagina on tour. Do like public speaking, like a TED chat or something, like, a book as well. And I just think, again, like, there's so much you can do. It's you, isn't it? So I remember my coach saying to me, what's stopping you? And I just remember going, me. Like,
exactly.
It's me. There's no one else. It's me stopping myself. And it's just like, oh. And I think that was quite a poignant point of the coaching. It's like, oh yeah, it's me.
It is. It's so important, because what you're doing is you're being challenged. Well, what is it you really want? Oh, I want that. Oh, okay. So if you had that, what would that give you? Well, it would give me this, and it give me this, and you go, oh, actually, so it's not that you want, though. It's this. And then you go, oh my God, yes. So how do I do that then? Well, you don't always have to know the end destination, and you don't always have to know how to get there. You just have to put out there to the universe, God, whatever it is you support, and that's the direction I want to go in. And then trust the process, trust that things are going to happen. But you can't, as much as we all talk about visualizing, manifestation and all that, yes, that plays a huge part, but you still have to take action. You can't just sit there every day going, oh, I want to be a number one book or film, and then leave it at that. You have to, well, what are you going to do to start moving towards that? But one of the, we were talking earlier about making things simple. The other simple thing, 2 simple things, right? The most powerful tool that we've all got, and it's totally free, and it's limitless, and that is the power of our imagination.
Yeah.
Right? So we've all got one. Some of us are better at using it than others. Now, someone will probably watch this and go, oh, I don't have a very good imagination because I've never been good at writing books, writing stories and stuff like that, right? However, that same person is probably fantastic at imagining anxiety, being scared of everything, talking themselves down, because that negative language, negative self-talk, fears, anxieties, procrastination, imposter syndrome, self-sabotage are all based on fear. So tell yourself this, right? Are you using your imagination in a really negative way? And if you are, then that means you could do whatever you want in your world, because you have got the most amazing imagination. You just need to learn how to turn that around and start using it in a really positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always tried now. I mean, I've never been a negative person, but Eve say something, I don't know, a rubbishy day or something, like flip it. It's like, okay, that wasn't great, but I've managed to do this, this and this, you know, and that's how I've always, and that's kind of what I've taken forward recently over the last couple of years, is like, how can I flip this into something? It's not going to be like the greatest day, but it's going to be, there's something that I can take from today. And it's definitely, yeah, like my, because we've done a lot of, I definitely, for me, I didn't realise I was so, like, it's, again, creativity, I wouldn't say would be something, but I have to be creative to create podcasts, to create the ideas behind by the episodes and things like that. And it's like, again, it's just something that I've kind of added, and I just love it. It's like another release, you know. I love write. I've always liked writing.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Like, I've always liked writing. So I've always liked writing, like, you know, when I was little, I always liked thank you letters and things like that. And it's just like, you know, then just taking that to another level, you know, I don't think I'm always good at it, but I enjoy what I do. So I think that's where journaling has helped as well. That for me, journaling, I don't actually read back what I've written, but when I start, I just can't stop, and the flow. It doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always typically grammar right or anything, but it's just my thoughts just kind of getting out. And I think
that's amazing.
It just meant for me as well that we're no longer, it created a bit more space in my brain. I can just put that, you know, sometimes I will write, you know, but I wrote about the good and the bad, like the holiday, you know, I had an amazing holiday, like a holiday of a lifetime to Lapland with my family. You know, I wrote about that. I wrote about like the negative things that happened, because again, it was just my way of kind of processing it. So I do it for the good and the bad. You know, I don't always say bad, but you know, the bad experiences, but you can also learn from as well.
Yeah, I mean, basically, waking up every day, we should be grateful for, right?
Yeah, and
granted, but we don't know what's going to happen.
No, absolutely.
But anyway, darling, sorry, go on. You have that final bit.
It's like a simple thing for exercise, like you know, a lot of people go, "Oh God, I've got an exercise today." It's like, but you can exercise. That's the difference. There's people who can't exercise for whatever reason. You have this opportunity to be able to do it. So kind of like split it, make the most of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes people are just so down in their poor me. And that's the other thing. It's what vibration you're putting out. Negativity draws negativity. So the more negative you are, the more you're going to attract that negativity. But obviously, the more positive you are, you're going to attract positive people, positive outcomes, and just start raising that vibration. So let's start looking at what we're doing, right? And start understanding that we've all got it in our power. We're the only one that can do that. Another fun fact for you, the only thing in life that you can control are your thoughts. You can't control anything else. You can't control the world. You can't control someone else's thoughts, even though sometimes we obviously want to try and control people, our partners, our kids and stuff. But focus on yourself first and foremost, and don't feel guilty about putting yourself first. And that's exactly leads me very nicely, thank you, Julie, into talking about my group program, which is exactly all about that. It's in the pilot phase at the moment, so I'm still taking on people, but it's about getting people back to basics, or maybe they've never been back to basics, right? So it's teaching you the power of the mind, how to start respecting yourself, taking time for yourself. And if you don't, the impacts that has on your body. And what's super amazing about this program is we are working with your conscious mind, but we're also working with your subconscious mind as well. So we are using hypnosis, meditation, embodiment tools to actually make those permanent changes as well. Of course, I work with clients on a one-to-one basis as well. But if anyone's interested and wants to find out more, please contact me and I'd love to have a conversation with you. So, Catherine, would you do a shout out for what you've got coming up?
Yes, so if anyone's interested in me hosting sports bra workshops or workshops about menopause and exercise, or any kind of women's health really, then give me a shout. You can DM me on Instagram, or I'm on LinkedIn, and just listen to my podcast. So it's available on Spotify and Apple, and wherever you kind of get your podcast from. And it's just me telling my story, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of get something from it, and just know that you aren't alone, which is the biggest thing for me.
And are you still looking for guests to come on? And if so, what's your criteria?
I don't really have a criteria, really. It's just anything that you want to chat about. So I've had personal trainers, I've had women's health physios, I've had a sex therapist, you know, anything that kind of is related to women's health, and or just sharing a story. You know, I've got a lady come in a couple of weeks about endometriosis, which I haven't experienced myself, but obviously I think it's a really important topic that we speak about. So yeah, I'm always open for guests. So if anybody wants to come on my podcast, then again, drop me a DM.
Lovely. And I'm always open to guests. Anyone who's got an unstoppable story, then come and see me too. So, Catherine, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a joy speaking with you, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And when they watch this, please like and share it with other people. This will stream on my Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and also on my YouTube channel, Millieside Therapy and Coaching, where you can see this video and all the other interviews, and all my client testimonials are up there too. So thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time with another unstoppable guest.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.